They throw so much shit at us on a daily basis that it's easy to miss something important, something consequential. That's their strategy, we know this, right? Flood the zone, bury the story, and move on before anyone can react. And they are damned good at it. Give me a few extra minutes here for this one, okay? This week, The Guardian, a British newspaper, published a story based on a Pentagon memo dated October 8th. That memo orders every single state's National Guard to form what it calls quick reaction forces, who are trained in crowd control. Every governor, every territory, each one must train roughly 500 troops for civil disturbance operations. That means batons, shields, tasers, and pepper spray, riot control drills, formation tactics, and they're expected to be ready by January 1st, 2026. That's 2 months from today. And what if a governor refuses? Well, they've thought of that too. Under federal law, the president can federalize any state's National Guard and take direct control. It's been done before. Once the Guard is federalized, governors have no authority to stop it. That means this order isn't a request, it's a command. So even if a governor objects, the Pentagon has the power to act anyway. That's what makes this different. It isn't coordination between states and Washington, it's subordination. And what if the National Guard itself refuses? Some guardsmen and women have already said they won't fire on civilians, not on their own communities or on other Americans. They know the system will punish them for saying it, but they've drawn a line anyway. But disobedience does come at a cost. Under military law, refusing an order labeled lawful can end a career or worse. But what makes an order lawful? Who decides? The Nazi regime made its orders legal too, until the world put those laws on trial and called them crimes against humanity. Legality is not morality. An order can be legal on paper and still be wrong in practice. And history has never looked kindly on those who hide behind, "I was just following orders." So yes, some may stand up. I hope they all do. But the system is built to crush resistance from within. And that's why the rest of us can't stay silent from the outside. These orders are being challenged in court. In Oregon, judges temporarily blocked the deployment of the Guard to Portland, calling it an abuse of power. But higher courts have already begun reversing those rulings. The challenges are real, but they aren't holding. Not yet, anyway. The October 8th memo cites an August executive order from Donald Trump, a directive telling the Secretary of Defense to create a standing national force that can be deployed anywhere in the country to quell unrest. I don't think Donald wrote it. He doesn't know big words like that. But think about what that actually means. On paper, it sounds procedural. In practice, well, that's just alarming. Understatement, I know. Because this isn't about wildfires or hurricanes, it's about people. It's about controlling us. For almost 250 years, the National Guard has operated under state authority. Governors call them up to respond to local emergencies. They are basically citizens in uniform, not a federal police force. But this order changes that. It turns the National Guard into a federal tool of enforcement, one that can be directed from the top down. It prepares soldiers to treat their own citizens as potential combatants. That breaks with everything Americans were told the National Guard represents. And it invokes the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, which limited the federal government's ability to use the military for domestic law enforcement. That law came after Reconstruction, a period when federal troops were stationed in the South to protect newly freed Black Americans from white supremacist violence. When those troops were withdrawn as part of the corrupt bargain of 1877, that protection ended. What followed was the rise of Jim Crow, nearly a century of racial terror and segregation enforced by local and state governments. So, history shows both truths. Sometimes federal power has defended rights, and sometimes it's been used to destroy them. The difference is purpose. Then, troops were protecting citizens from violence. Now, they're being prepared to police those citizens instead. That's the reversal we're seeing. Not a government protecting the people, but one protecting itself from the people. The Pentagon memo doesn't talk about humanitarian missions or disaster aid. It specifies civil disturbance operations. And that definition can mean anything: a protest, a march, a strike, even a crowd outside a polling station. The vagueness is the point. It gives the government freedom to define dissent as disorder. Nothing like this has ever been ordered in modern U.S. history, not after 9/11, not after January 6th. Previous Guard deployments were local, temporary, and reactive. This is national, permanent, and proactive, a framework for militarized response to civilians, built in advance and justified as readiness. And it's set to go live months before the 2026 midterms. By then, this president will have federally coordinated troops positioned to maintain order wherever he claims it's threatened. He won't need to cancel elections. He'll just control the environment around them. That's how authoritarian governments operate. They write new rules, call them safeguards, and use them to suppress the very people they claim to protect. Mussolini called it stability. Franco called it unity. Hitler called it peace, and Trump calls it protection. And like them, he's using that word to justify control, to claim that order requires obedience and that dissent is a threat. They all use the same playbook: declare the public unsafe, promise protection, and use that promise to consolidate power. It always begins with orders that sound procedural, and it always ends with soldiers policing civilians. We've seen what happens when soldiers are turned on civilians. At Kent State in 1970, 4 students were killed for protesting the Vietnam War. Every time it's justified as order, every time it leaves scars that don't heal. Now that power is being locked in, and it's being handed to a man who threatens political opponents, is attacking the press, and praises dictators abroad. That's not leadership. That's Trump and his puppet masters consolidating power. This isn't a functioning democracy being tested. This is a government preparing to manage the population, not represent it. And most people don't even know it's happening. Please listen. The National Guard is being retrained, re-equipped, and federalized to contain dissent. This is a domestic force aimed inward. It's not coming, it's here. And the longer we stay quiet, the more permanent it becomes. There is no waiting for someone else to fix this. No committee hearing will undo it. No election will stop it if the power to control those elections already exists. This moment demands more than online outrage. It demands bodies in the streets, voices raised in unison, and a refusal to accept the normalization of military power over civilian life. We're down the rabbit hole, people. It's time to fight back right now. The complacency is killing me. We will all feel the pain of this in the not too distant future. Please give a damn. So, that's the choice in front of us now. Obedience or resistance. History will record which one we choose. If this work matters to you, or you want to help me keep doing it, there's a tip jar in my bio. Please choose to fight